Morning.
Good morning.
Today I'm going to do my presentation on albinism. Can't hear?
Just talk loud.
So what is albinism? Albinism is
Slow down.
an inherited genetic condition that causes a lack of pigment in the skin, hair, and eyes. 3 types of albinism also cause breathing problems, pulmonary fibrosis, and inflammatory bowel disease. All types of albinism cause varying visual impairment.
Slow down.
So why is the person visually impaired? The lack of pigment in the eye causes the visual impairment. But how?
Lauren,
Because of the lack of pigment in the eye,
slow down.
eye cannot filter out the light to make a good picture. Why can't the person just use glasses? Corrective lenses correct problems with the cornea. Albinism causes problems with the retina, the fovea, and the optic nerve. None of these parts of the eye benefit from corrective lenses. What do you see? This is a tricky question. I don't know what normal vision is because things are not blurry. They are just lacking detail. Things seem much farther away than they actually are. My vision changes throughout the day depending on the brightness, eye fatigue, time of day, and task I'm doing. It can also change because of changes in my nystagmus. The sun and light hurt. Why? Because of the lack of pigment in the eyes, people with albinism are very sensitive to light. This means that they need to take precautions to protect their eyes when outdoors. I also wear sunglasses and hats indoors. The sun is not your friend. Because of the lack of pigment in the skin, people with albinism can get sunburned extremely easily. You have to make sure that any skin exposed has sunscreen on it if you will be outside for longer than 5 minutes, or else you will get fried. If you go outside between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., you need to take extra precautions. Types of albinism. Ocular albinism affects only the eyes and not the skin or hair. Oculocutaneous albinism affects the skin, hair, and eyes. Hermansky-Putlock syndrome is OCA with bleeding disorders, bruising, lung problems, and intestinal disorders. Types of albinism continued. Chidak-Higashi syndrome is OCA with abnormality in certain types of white blood cells, lowering resistance to infection. Grassley syndrome is an extremely rare type of albinism. In fact, there are only 60 known cases worldwide. Like Chicken-Hege syndrome, it involves immunodeficiency and may also be associated with neurological problems. What's next? Now that you know what albinism is, let's go into how it affects my life. Who am I? My name is Lauren Berglund. I am 15 years old and have OCA 1B. If you can't see, how does school work? I have an IEP, which is an individualized education plan. In my IEP, it lists all of my accommodations. Without my IEP, I would not be able to do school. We meet at least once a year to go over my IEP and make sure all my needs are being met. Some students have 504 plans. They are not as individualized. I have my mom to thank for my almost perfect IEP. What accommodations do I get? There are a few, so bear with me. I typed them up at the beginning of the school year for my teachers, so that it is written as if I was reading them to my teachers. Okay. When writing on the board, use dark colored markers that are fairly new. black, blue, or purple. Write in normal print, not cursive or all caps, because it's harder for me to depict letters. Write at your normal size the first day, and I will tell you where we need to go from there. If there is glare on the board, your blinds will need to be pulled.
Explain what that is.
Those are just pictures of the board at school. They're different things. There are things I couldn't see from my seat, so I took pictures of them with my iPad so I could see them better. For textbooks, I have a large print copy of my algebra book. For biology and heritage, my textbooks have been downloaded into Kurzweil on my laptop. For pictures and diagrams, I will take pictures of the needed items out of other students' textbooks with my iPad. So this is my algebra book. It's a pretty thick book, and it comes in like 7 to 11 volumes, and then the print's a lot larger so I can read it. For chapter books and short stories, I read all my chapter books on my iPad using an app called Read to Go. I can also find most short stories in Read to Go. When using Read to Go, I use my Bookshare account to access the daily files. I love Read to Go very much. So this is what it looks like when I open it on my iPad. After I download the books, I just pick a book. Let's see if it'll do it.
Loading. Bookshelf.
Okay. So I open a book.
Gwen McCarthy.
Oh.
ISBN 97803. Opening book.
You open it.
Loading.
I gotta get to actual book.
Loading.
And then it reads the book to me while I follow along.
Helping look in the woods in the dark and the cold, and I could reach out to touch the child sleeping beside him. No.
Okay. And then for taking notes. How I take notes depends on how the notes are being given. If the notes are being projected off your laptop as a PowerPoint, I ask that you please email me the PowerPoint so that I can look at it on my iPad, which is what I'm doing now, so I can read the PowerPoint. If the PowerPoint has transitions, sometimes this will not work well. PowerPoint may also be accessed through Join Me. These are some biology PowerPoints, and then this one, the picture in the upper right left-hand corner, shows what I see from my seat, and then the one under that is the same slide but on my iPad. For more notes. If the notes are a Word document being projected electronically off your laptop, I ask that you change the font and print them. If it's a lot of notes, 3 pages before font changes, I ask that you email them to me with the Word doc, or the best choice would be to use Join Me. These are, the upper ones are 2 that have been printed off from teachers, and then the bottom one is something that was emailed. More notes. If you're writing notes on the board, I ask that you say what you're writing aloud as you write it. If you speak at the rate that you write, I can normally stay with you. Most of the time, I can't see anything being written on the board. If you have a smartboard, then we can just use Join Me. Here's how my teacher, again from my seat in biology, and then what's on the smartboard, and then what I see on my iPad. And then I can zoom in with these pretty far so I can get them big enough to read. Anything being projected. It's mostly the same as taking notes. Anything that is being projected that students need to see, need a hard copy of it, or to use Join Me. If it's a picture, feel free to just email it to me and I can open it on my iPad or use Join Me. For videos, I will listen like the other students. Here's the upper left-hand corner is something being projected off the document camera, which are little cameras that teachers have on their desks, and then they can put anything into it so you can read it. And then the other one, we did an algebra equation with a train that goes really fast, and then we watched a movie of it. And then the other 2 is, again, how it looks from my seat, and then what I see on my iPad of a fruit face under the document camera. For worksheets. If the worksheet is a Word doc, just increase the font and print it when you print all the others. If it's not a Word doc, take it to Mr. Rodriguez and he will scan and email it to me. Then I open them on my iPad. If the internet is down, then we have a problem. If it's done the scan email way, then I will just write my answers on a normal copy. Okay, so here's a lot of different worksheets. The uppermost left one is actually a test. So it shows how I can zoom in at differing degrees. On the top are all electronic worksheets. And the bottom are all paper worksheets. And the one in the way corner is a normal copy that I wrote my answers on. Seating. I need to be seated in the front of the room, in the middle, and a little to the right. My left eye is much better than my right eye. So by moving me to one side, it'll make my left eye be able to see things easier. In some situations, I can be in the back 3 rows. Like in Spanish last year, I had copies of everything put on the board so I could sit back further. Or if all we use is join me, like biology, I can also sit wherever. This is another example from my seat, and then on my iPad, we were talking about the Bermuda Triangle, so I drew a boat on the smartboard. Font the Lauren way. Cabaret body or Arial Unicode MS work best. Please no bold. It makes things squished and together and harder to read. Font sizes are 26 to 28. This may change, I will let you know. And then it's a sample, which would actually look different, but I think that's how it would look. And then here's a worksheet with that font and that size and things from Spanish. So what is Join Me? Join Me makes it possible for me to see anything that is on my teacher's laptop screen. It can be anything from a website to notes, a PowerPoint, the document camera, or what's being written on the smartboard. My teachers download the program onto their laptops and give me the 9-digit code that I plug into the Join Me app on my iPad. Here's just a lot of examples of Join Me because I use it every day for a few different classes. There's a lot of math on this one. And the second one down on the left side is actually our online textbook. So I can read that. Okay, and then there's a lot more examples. The middle on the bottom row is my and my friend were talking to our biology teacher to see if he would notice, but he didn't. And then the far right bottom one, that little like green thing in the corner, it's really small. But this is what I see on my iPad when I'm joined, just so I know that I'm joined. This is what the teacher sees when they open Join Me. They can either choose to share their screen, which is what they choose, or they can join. And those are attendance, not grades. So. Then the 9-digit code is up in the way top. It's actually pretty hard to see. But that's the code my teacher writes on a piece of paper and then gives me. Then actually there's a kid in my class that's collecting them. And this is what I see on my iPad, where I can type in the 9-digit number and then it connects me. There's more examples, because I use it all the time. Okay. I also meet with a TVI 3 times a week. We work on finishing up learning Braille and furthering my skills. That is spelled wrong.
Yeah.
We also work on my self-determination binder. We gather any information I may need later in life. So we've gathered information for, like, I go to the eye clinic up in Minnesota, and we gathered all of the contact information there. And thanks for paying for that, or helping pay for that, because it's a really cool eye clinic. We like when they're a lot better than where the adults go. She makes sure that's all going smoothly with school and that I'm meeting my goals. A TVI is a teacher for the visually impaired. Okay, so on the top left corner is a Braille book about a turtle that went on a picnic. And then that's the Braille curriculum I use, is the bottom left corner. And the bottom right corner is a Perkins Brailler, which is like an old-fashioned typewriter, except it has the Braille keys, so you can Braille. I meet with O&M twice a month. At this point in my life, I have learned most skills I will need until we start working on college campuses. In the past, we have worked on street crossings, cane skills, bus travel, and independent travel. Currently, we are doing shopping, banking, and taxis. O&M is an certified orientation and mobility specialist. And then here's my cane, which is on the floor over there somewhere, and a bus route from Sioux City that we were working on. Okay, the next is all the things I've gotten to do that I wouldn't have had gotten to do if I didn't have Albany. The first two are things I've done through the NFB. First thing I went to, Mom went with me, and it was called the Law Program, which is what is it?
Lobbying and advocacy in Washington, D.C.
It's the word law stands for leadership and advocacy in Washington, D.C. And what we did is we flew in, and then we worked on lobbying for different bills. We learned what these bills were, and we toured the first 2 days. And then the second 2 days, we actually lobbied for the bills. So we proposed them to our congressmen and women. And then that's me and my friend Rachel. She went to both NFB things with me. She's from Wisconsin. The second one I did for the NFB was the NFB Youth Slam, which is a STEM program, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. I flew with another blind student and 2 deaf-blind students and their interpreters to Washington, D.C. And then I spent a week on a college campus working in chemistry. And then we flew home, but flying home was kind of interesting. And I've met some really amazing friends. The top picture is friends from, the 2 right pictures the 2 left pictures are friends from Iowa. The top one is me and my friends at O&M camp. We can walk in sync with our canes. And then the bottom one is from a Department for the Blind retreat with some more of my friends. And the other 2 are friends from NOAA conferences. We all got matching Build-A-Bears like 2 minutes before we had to run to get onto the bus.
What is NOAA?
Oh, NOAA is the National Organization for Albinism and Hypopigmentation. So they're like in charge of foreseeing all of that stuff. And then the bottom one is me and my friend Caitlin. And we went to a museum that probably wasn't as touchy-feely as we made it. But and those shirts are actually like really bright highlighter yellow. So it was really hard to miss any of us with our hair and our shirts and everything. And competing for the NCASB. The NCASB is the North Central Association of Schools for the Blind. And I compete in that conference through the Iowa Braille School. The left pictures are both goalball pictures. They're both from this year actually. So that was 2 weekends ago. I went and played goalball. And then the ones on the right are swimming and forensics conferences. The bottom one is our forensics team, and the top one is our girls swim team that placed 3rd out of 11 states for only having 3 girls. And then NOAA conferences. These are just a lot of pictures with my friends. The bottom picture on the left is we were the adventurers group. It was the grade you were going into, so it was 10th through 12th grade, so we were the oldest grade that still didn't sit in rooms and listen to people talk all day. And that was us by the arch. And we went on different adventures and we had to plan everything. And then the other ones are my friends the morning before we left. And they're from like all over the United States, so I only see them like every 2 years. For more information, you can go to albinism.org. And then all of the pictures, like from the beginning, are people from Facebook groups that let me borrow their pictures of their kids so that they can be in there. Does anyone have any questions? I won't be able to see you raising your hands.
Yeah, you'll have to stand up or say something.
What are your plans for your future?
I will definitely go to college. I want to do something in the pediatric medical field. I just don't know exactly yet. I'm having trouble deciding.
How long have you known that you've had this?
I was born with albinism.
Okay,
So you're born with it. They didn't,
okay.
they did misdiagnose me twice. And I don't, how old was I when they finally diagnosed me?
Almost a year.
I was almost a year when I got diagnosed. And like when I was little, my hair was like really, really white too. And then because I have OCA1B, which is oculocutaneous albinism, type 1B, and the 1B means that I was born with no pigment and I'll develop some pigment. But I developed my pigment in my skin and my hair, but not in my eyes, and my brother is the opposite way.
So you have, so
Yes.
your brother also, just one of the brothers.
Just
One
one
of
of,
them.
my 11-year-old twin brothers. I'll find there's a picture of him in here somewhere. The bottom left-hand corner is my brother. And then the top right-hand corner is, those are my friends Kenzie and Eli, and they live in Hinton, Iowa, and they're both adopted with albinism, and we were in the car, so we decided, we're the pale pals, so we take pictures whenever we're together. There's lots of them like that. That's pretty much it.
I'd like to thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
And